We're going to take a look at the new features we've added to PPview and kind of give you a refresher on that if you have not seen it before or have forgotten what it's all about. When you're in Bird Dog and you're looking at the main horse screen, you can click on a horse and you can see the running lines, kind of the past performance information that you would normally see in a form or a track program. And this is handy. It's kind of difficult to compare all the horses at once. So what you do is you click on this PPview button, and that brings up all of the horses on the same screen. And unlike a racing form or a track program, you can sort this and search it and filter it and do all sorts of neat stuff with it. And we want to talk a little bit about the things that we've added to it. So we've added the main things we've added are the pace, E1, E2, and late pace. So those are all sortable. So you can sort them from high to low, low to high. And so E1 is the early, E2 is the middle, late is the late. And we have the sliders over here too. So by default, they're kind of set on a range that shows you the highest one. So we know that the highest late pace figure is 90. You see that over here on this. And so if I wanted to just show, let's say I think you got to be within 15, and so I'd say 75 to 90, and that eliminates some horses. And you could do that same thing over here with E1. You could say I'll put that at around 74, so on and so forth. And you can filter it that way. I hit the reset button and that clears all that out. Now some of the other things that we've added are the ability to kind of isolate a horse and to show you how that works. By default, they're all checked. So we're looking at every horse in this race. If for some reason, let's say on the previous, my previous handicapping, I've gone over here and I've determined that, wow, the 8, I don't like the 8. It's last and everything, and it looks like it's last in all these quick handicapping predictions, and for whatever reason I just don't like the 8. I come back to PPview and I can unclick it, and so the 8 no longer shows up over here. Another cool thing about this is that if I uncheck them all and say, I'm kind of trying to decide between, let's say, the 3 and the 2, I can bring the 3 and the 2 up together, and I can get a sense if I let's say I want to sort it by date, so their most recent races are first. First thing that would jump out to me is, wow, the 3 has run a lot of races recently in comparison to the 2. The 2's most recent race was 222 days ago. The 3's run a lot since the 2 has run, and I can get a sense over here of how, if I look at who's going to be kind of on the lead, the 3 versus the 2. The 2 is not an early speed type horse, or it does not want to run on the front. I can see that very clearly when I compare these two horses together. I'll go back and turn them all on and just kind of walk through some of the things that you can do in PPview in general. And of course, these buttons here, that's if I hit last 90 days, that limits it to only races that have occurred within the last 90 days. I can do last 60, last 30, or I can take this slider here on the days ago and I can use that instead. One additional thing we've added here is in the date column. You can sort by date, but we've also added how many days ago that actually was. Something that's kind of a good thing to do from the start. If you sort by speed, and so the fastest race from a speed number perspective that any of these horses have run was in 83 by horse number 4. And that was 46 days ago. I can see that's 46 days ago, so that's pretty recent. I can also compare, before I would do that, let's say I wanted to this, I can look at the conditions up here. This is 8 furlongs on the dirt. So I'd come over here and I'd change the surface to just dirt races. And let's say I wanted to change the distance, and I only want to look at races that are between, let's say, 7 and 8.5. And I do that. So I set that slider to that range right there, and so now every race that shows up here is between 7 and 8.5. And so now we're kind of looking at something similar to what's going on today. And I'd say, all right, well, I only want to see stuff that's pretty recent, so within the last 120 days. And I'd sort by speed, and then we see that 4 on top again. And then you get the 3, but in terms of who's run recently and similar race types, we're kind of zooming in on that right now. And then we look at class. We have the class here of this in parentheses. This is a new addition. So if I come over here to Bird Dog, I can see that the class of this race normally is a 48.02. That's the class of this specific race. If I come back to PPview, and the other thing I'd like to mention about PPview is whatever you have, filters and things like that, if you close it and open it back up again, those are saved. So you come up here and you could say only show races where the class is as good as today's or better. So that really knocks it down. Only in the last 90 days in this kind of a race, only these 3 horses have run races of this same class on the same distance, same surface, etc. So that's getting really focused on this stuff. So you can take that back out and come over here and look at this. And so there's a lot of ways you'll learn to kind of find a contender. I think makes sense to kind of look at what's going on today. This kind of a race, you don't necessarily want to look at something that's completely different than today. What a horse did at a mile and a half on the turf is probably not too relevant today in this 8 furlong dirt race. And something that happened 300 days ago is probably not too relevant either. But that's up to you. You can do those kinds of filters on your own. On the surface condition as well. If today was a sloppy track, you might just include sloppy races, but it's fast, so you uncheck everything other than the fast. And so now we're just looking at dirt fast track races. And let's say you didn't, for example, let's say GPX, which is Gulfstream Park. If I put that in the search bar, GPX, it limits it to races that were run at Gulfstream Park. If it was Gulfstream Park West, I'd put that W there, and you'd have Gulfstream Park West. Click the X, and that clears it out, so it's all of them. So there's a lot of things you can do here. I'll clear it all out, hit the reset button. You've got the post position in here. You can see horses that have run from certain posts before, how they did out of those posts. If you isolate a particular horse and you look at it, just want to, the jockey that's in bold is the jockey that's riding it today. So we can see here that Edgar Zayas on this horse, he's done very well. If you pick another horse, you got Panici's has been on this horse twice. He's on it today. If you sort it by the date, he's been on it the last 2 starts. So there's that's kind of informative. If you look at all horses and sort by jockey, and look at so for example, let's say Tyler Gaffalione, he's not on. So the bold horses today, we would say Panici, he's on the 5, but you can find instances sometimes where a jockey in a race has ridden multiple horses and can kind of get a comparison of how they've done over those races. So a lot of this stuff here is self-explanatory. The jockey to surface, the race type, the class, the purse, the finish position. One thing to look at here on the finish position, in today's race we have 8 horses, and so you can get a sense when you're looking at a horse of how they finished against similar field sizes. This is kind of interesting. The odds, I've looked at this a couple times in the past and caught, when I'm trying to fill out a super or something like that. It's a pretty interesting way. If I hit reset here and I sort by odds, and I want the longest price at the top. So for example, this 8 horse went off at 96 to 1, 240 days ago at Gulfstream Park, and he ran like a 96 to 1 shot. He was beaten 11 lengths, finished 9th. But if you come down and you have it sorted by odds, and then you kind of look at the finish positions over here, well, the 2, this horse has run well at big odds. He came in second at 71 to 1. The 4 ran third at 55 to 1. The 8 actually won a race at 36 to 1. So you can look at things like that. So you can do it the opposite way, and you can say, well, the 3 35 days ago was the favorite and came in second. So you can kind of look at odds, how horses have done at certain prices. So and of course the speed is the main thing. Speed and pace are the main things you're looking at here. This average, this right here this column here shows you when it's in a speed figure in this column is exactly today's race type. These are races that have occurred at 8 furlongs on the dirt, and we have an average. So the average speed of all the horses that have run 8 furlongs on the dirt that are in this race is 67. And so the figures that are in green are for races that are above the average, and then the red ones are the below average. And if you look at it this way, and you say within the last 90 days, the one has run, this is a quick way of finding similar races to today, and so you have the one that has run the highest speed figure for this race type in the last 90 days. Overall, though, it's the 4 who's run the fastest speed, but that was at a little bit over 8 furlongs, so not exactly the same, but close enough. So you get the idea. So there's a lot of searching and filtering that you can do here to quickly kind of hone in on those running lines that are similar to today's races, and you can kind of filter to get things as close as to the scenarios you think you need to be, you know. And so the tricky part of it really is how many days ago do you look at. I tend to think, 120, 90 days, those kinds of things are probably the best. But you'll find a lot of times, just like everything in horse racing, there's always exceptions, and so you can find a lot of long shots looking at class and horses that, so if I said horses that have won the highest class races, so what I would do is I would go over to the finish position, and that's over here, and I could say, let's only show me horses that finish 1 through 3, and then I sort by class, and then I say the 1 ran second, so the classiest race of all these horses that had a finish position of 1, 2, or 3 was the 1. The 2 wins, you got a win by the 3 and a win by the 1. And so, how long ago were those? Were quite a long time ago. 200 to 300 days ago. You can kind of eyeball it and look at it recently, and you can see that down here they've 27 days ago, 80 days ago, those kinds of things. But sometimes you'll find a horse that's run a really high class race in the past and done well in it, even though it was a long time ago, they may surprise and show up again today. So those are the kinds of things you can spot with PPview pretty quickly, and it's a lot easier than kind of sorting through that in your mind by looking at a printed racing form. And so that's it in a nutshell. The main new features are the pace features and the ability to pick certain horses and compare them against each other, or to eliminate horses you believe are not contenders in this race, and kind of really hone in on the things you're looking for. Hope you enjoy it. If you have any comments or questions, just let us know. Thanks.